in India. So welcome back, everybody, to the Days of Miracle program. So today is, I have to check, the 12th day of the Days of Miracles. Amazing, amazing. And we have a very special guest today. We have Geshe Lhakdor today, and we are so happy, Geshe, that you made some time in your very, very busy schedule. We're so honored to have you. And most of you are familiar with Geshe. So Geshe is since 2005 the director of the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in Dharamshala, so near to His Holiness place. And before that, Geshe was for 16 years, I believe, the translator and religious assistant to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and traveled with His Holiness in over 30 countries all around the world. So Geshe knows our Western, Indian, Tibetan minds very well, and can give us very good teachings. And we are so honored, Geshe, to have you back and to teach today about meditation and mindfulness. Thank you so much, Geshe.
So shall I start?
Thank you, Geshe.
Okay. So I really don't have much to teach. Forget about knowing the minds of all the Ingis and Indians and everybody. I don't know my mind even, right? So Anila is out of courtesy, exaggerating a little bit. Having said that, I humbly accept these invitations. And as I have always been saying, that I'm not a good teacher or special teacher, not experienced teacher, not qualified teacher, nothing. But the only little advantage is I know a little bit of Buddhism and a little bit of English, So with that, I pull courage to say something before people. And I make the effort, at least not to waste your time. And of course, that is very much dependent upon your own mental attitude. Just as one hand cannot clap and produce a sound. So with your presence as an interested listener and audience, and with my little effort, we may be able to move a little bit towards the positive direction, take few steps towards the positive direction. So that is important. So together, even if we spend like 1 hour together talking about good things, not about killing people, but about, helping each other, becoming, nicer, making our life meaningful. So these are important, meaningful chit-chats, right? Since we are all very fond of chit-chatting, why not something that will be useful for us? And then especially when we talk about, the teachings found in the many of the Buddhist teachings, then they really are like, precious golds. Really. I'm not saying this because I'm a Buddhist. I'm saying this because based on my many years of exposure to Buddhism and also a little bit experience of age and having, some exposure to other forms of education also, I can conclude and say that at the end of the day, when it comes to getting reliable, long-lasting happiness, it has to come from within oneself and not from outside. That is 100% sure. So that much I can say with conviction. So the primary source of happiness, of peace, if we want them, then the right place to look for that long-lasting peace and happiness is within one's own mind. And I have been saying this in all my talks and teachings. And also I don't have any news, or new things to say. Even with the Buddhist teaching, many people these days, they say, what is the latest development in Buddhism? Because in other fields of education, like science, they always come up with this new theory, this new presentation, this, that, and so many things, Then people run after these new things, which I'm not saying good or bad, but this is one trend. But in Buddhism, yes, it is true that different scholars must have contributed a little bit, but generally speaking, it is what the Buddha has taught. People simply discussed on that, elaborated on that, meditated on that. And then the good thing here is, in one sense, there is no need to come up with new editions or insights. And we cannot have new editions, insights which the Buddha did not have. That is not to say that you cannot exercise your freedom of thinking. Of course, you can try as much as you want. But I don't think we'll be able to come up with such profound, vast, beneficial, compassionate conclusions as Buddha and his eminent followers have done. And the thousands of followers of the Buddha, like Nagarjuna and so forth, they are also not like stupid people who simply followed without questioning the Buddha. They explored, they questioned, they examined, and then they said, what you taught is excellent, what you taught is profound. Nagarjuna said this, Tsongkhapa said this, And then based on my own, for example, limited experience and exposure, not only to Buddhism, but also Western wisdoms, I can safely say that you have a path taught by the Buddha, which if you sincerely practice, will give you long-lasting peace and happiness. So that is something I think very crucial for us to understand, right? Because to follow Buddhism is not a new fashion, should not be like following a new fashion, okay? Yes, in terms of communicating the Buddha's messages, sometimes you can take fresh examples, relate to new experiences, events, and things like that, and tell new stories. These are all different techniques of delivering the same message. But as far as the content, the main subject matter is concerned, there's probably nothing we can invent than what the Buddha has taught, right? Because he taught precisely the two most important things that is important in human life: compassion and wisdom. What else you want? Wisdom means understanding the way things are, not exaggerating, not denigrating, but seeing things as they are. Now, for example, if we are able to see things as they are without denigration, without exaggeration, these many problems that we are facing in the world today can be minimized. Like many of the conflicts that's happening right now, of course, every participant of this conflict will come up with their own reasons. But at the end of the day, it's very much related to personal egoism, not so much about the well-being of the majority of the people, right? That's very clear, very clear. So therefore, in life, if as I said, in a kind of challenging note, if you want a long-lasting peace and happiness, then this is the path. There cannot be a path better than this. If you don't want that long-lasting peace and happiness, but if you want to cling on to ephemeral, passing pleasures, getting engrossed in sensual objects, then of course there is no need of any kind of spirituality or any practice, things like that. Then just almost like act like animals. Animals are also good in killing each other. They also eat one or the other kind of food. They also have sexual relationships. As far as the engagement of the senses to the sensual objects, animals also do. They are very good in that also. So if we human beings also act in the similar way, then what is the use of this big head with big brain? This big head with the big brain is supposed to, explore the reality by which you are able to bring more peace and happiness, not only within humankind, but within all sentient beings. Only human beings have the capacity to bring about immense peace and stability, and likewise also bring immense destruction and death. Human beings have that capacity. Animals don't have that. But the tragedy, the big tragedy is that human beings are now primarily, especially many of the leaders in the world today are using their intelligence and capacity for destruction by employing sophisticated arms. As His Holiness said earlier, clearly, that you can see the awful destructive result of combination of sophisticated modern machines with illiterate, ignorant human mind. When these come together, and we have all seen very clearly, on the one hand, the so-called the most powerful countries in the world are not able to deal with this invisible virus pandemic. We are not able to deal with it very efficiently. But when it comes to throwing bombs on each other, all those countries are flexing their muscles and they really seem to be very powerful, very efficient. So that is the direction where we are going, unfortunately. That's my feeling. I may be wrong, right? So therefore, there is a need to talk about meditation. Meditation basically means getting your mind habituated with positive ways of thinking, making your mind habituated with virtuous qualities, because we want long-lasting happiness, not suffering. With the causes of suffering, like the afflictive emotions, we are advanced meditators. We are very good in getting angry. We are very good in developing obsession, attachment, hatred, jealousy, so forth. Very, very good. We are advanced meditators in that field. So therefore, when we talk about meditation, we are not talking about any kind of meditation or habituation. So because of your having this advanced degree and competence in negative emotions, it brought much suffering, not happiness and peace, not harmony. So therefore now, since you want long-lasting happiness, therefore now you should make your mind habituated with virtuous qualities, positive emotions. That perhaps has nothing to do with any religious practice, really. It's obvious to all of us that anger is not good for health. Hatred is not good for harmony, right? So there are many personal experiences, personal stories, scientific evidence, and so forth, how destructive these negative emotions are. And then also, if you closely look at basic human nature is goodness, as His Holiness also says. Basic human quality is goodness. A clear indication, there are several indications. One indication is right after the birth, when the child was born and is in a helpless situation, then the child is able to grow up properly and flourish, not because of hatred and anger and jealousy of the parents, but because of love, affection, and kindness and care given by the parents or whosoever is the caretaker. That's number one example, right? Then number two is you cannot win any friendship through hatred, anger, jealousy, competitiveness. So many examples are there. And then later, in the later part of your life, when you grow old and have difficulty taking care of yourself, at that time also it is only the love and compassion of your friends, relatives, and so forth, which is helpful, right? So these are many, many examples, right? The problem is we are short-sighted. We are short-sighted. Negative emotions are strongly entrenched within us. We have not removed the negative emotions. And the objects of negative emotions are not only there, but they are highlighted and magnified through modern technology, modern communication, modern advertisement. So all this, sensual objects are saying, come, come, come here, enjoy me. I'm so good, I'm shiny, I'm durable, I'm shiny, I'm permanent, whatever. And we are prone to those physical things, and we don't pay attention to that invisible force called energy, called mind, which is a pure energy, right? So therefore we suffer, and that suffering is in a way unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary suffering in the sense, because if you make some effort, you can minimize and eliminate these kind of sufferings. So therefore, when we talk about meditation or mindfulness or whatever terms that you use, what is really important is to know that you want that durable, long-lasting happiness. And for that, you need to be alert, awake, and careful, and see the reality as it is. I'm not going to talk much about the formal process of meditation and so forth, because these are all available in books these days, right? Right? So as simple as that. Meditation means making your mind habituated with positive things like compassion, love, kindness, wisdom, And if you start practicing that a little bit, over to somebody, show some kind of gesture of kindness. And when that other people to whom you extended your help, when you see that person getting a lot of happiness and peace, you also feel happy as a human being, you feel happy. But if you bully somebody, exploit somebody, at that very moment you might think, okay, I've silenced him or her, she or he could not challenge me. So you can act on the pose as if you are the winner, but deep down you will feel sorry for what you have done. You're ashamed of yourself. So that clearly shows that this, implementation of these negative emotions goes against human nature. The very reproduction of children comes through love, not through hatred. Nobody produces children out of hatred, right? And as I said, friendship cannot be won through love and through hatred. And then now scientifically it is proved that love, compassion, these are very, very good for one's own health. It can boost your immune system. During the lockdown, during the pandemic, many people experience that. Meditation is very helpful. Meditation on patience is very helpful. Compassion is very helpful, things like that. So therefore, we need meditation and mindfulness because it is not taught in, because it is taught in Buddhism or any other religious discourse. Meditation basically means not necessarily it is a Buddhist thing. Mindfulness, not necessarily a Buddhist thing. Of course, these are like very, very important subjects discussed in Buddhism. For example, when we talk about the very basis of Buddha's teaching, we include all the Buddha's teaching primarily into three: morality, concentration, and wisdom, right? So the second one, concentration, is meditation. Third one, wisdom, is also meditation, analytical meditation. And then the concentration, out of these three trainings, three precepts, now some people call it three Buddhist educations. So first is education on morality. So that means if you really want to meditate, whether it is one point in meditation or analytical meditation, the foundation has to be the practice of morality. You cannot meditate with a disturbed mind. You cannot meditate with anger. It's very clear, right? And the Sanskrit word for morality is shil, which means coolness, cool. Meaning that when your mind is cool, when it is not scorched by anger, hatred, and so forth, okay? And then your mind is cool. When you have not harmed anybody, your mind is cool, nothing to regret. When your mind is cool and peaceful, then you can do all kinds of activities, including one-pointed meditation, analytical meditation, or even playing a sport, whatever, you can do it very well. You're completely clean and free. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to regret. So therefore, morality is said to be like the ground on which buildings can stand, people can stand. Without that ground like morality, you cannot construct any other spiritual practices. Right? So therefore, even when we talk about formal meditation, normally it is advised that you first do the 6 preparatory practices. Then also the practice of the 7 limb branch practice. So which includes paying homage, purifying negative emotions, offering, and things like that. Right? So to make a long story short, what is important is practice morality, which also can be summarized by saying, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama is saying, if possible, help others as much as you can. And if you can't help, do not harm. That is morality. That's good for oneself. You know, when you talk about practicing morality, you are not really making a self-sacrifice. You are asked to do so for your own benefit. For your own benefit. For example, these days, because of the pandemic or because of the conflict and war, many people develop worry and fear and things like that, right? So all these fears and worries that you develop are basically very much dependent upon your unrealistic, useless process of perception. Because worry is your own cultivation. Fear is your own cultivation. Not necessarily realistic, not necessarily useful. You may be in a situation where worry is, not going to help. Not only it is not going to help, it will make the matter worse. It will make you unstable. Similarly, fear. Times that fear that you develop is useless. So therefore, many Buddhist teachings, they say that the problem with ordinary human beings is that in those areas where you should have fear, we have no fear. In those areas where we should have, should not have fear, we have a lot of fear. This is because of our lack of understanding. For example, your separation from your relatives. And when you develop this fear and worry that I may be separated from my relatives and friends, that is in a way unrealistic, very unrealistic fear based on misunderstanding. Because right in the beginning, you should understand that everything that comes together has to get separated. Whether that separation is due to pandemic or due to war, it's going to come. Even without war, even without pandemic, we're all going to die. So these things, right from the beginning, if you have developed that understanding of the reality of coming together, of separation and things like that, then when actually these things happen, you have no fear, no worry. And before these things come, you will live harmoniously with others. So many advantages of understanding the reality as they are, right? As I told you, right now we are having this exhibition in the library, and then the title of this exhibition is called Secret of Particles. So somebody asked the question, what is the benefit of such an exhibition? Of course, there are many, many benefits, right? We are talking about a very important, topic that comes in physics. But on a very simple level, because if you study these particles and atoms, right, then you know that your very body is made of these atoms and particles, which are subject to disintegration, right? And then with that understanding, you are more clearly able to see the transient nature of your body, the transient nature of your life, right? Things like that. So therefore, meditation and mindfulness is primarily just like the meaning of Dharma, Dharma means to know the reality. To practice Dharma, at least for me, is to practice the law of nature. Similarly, mindfulness and meditation, basically meditation on reality, especially the virtuous practices. Mindfulness means mindfulness of the body, the feeling, the mind, the phenomena, and so forth. That is basically talking about understanding the reality of all these things. So that is basically saying that we don't know the reality. The reality has to be known precisely through the threefold process of listening, contemplation, and meditation. We don't even, engage in proper listening, forget about contemplation and meditation. There's the problem, right? That's the problem. So therefore, right at the outset, it is important for all of us to know that meditation is an important technique, but all these teachings taught by Buddha are for meditation. Impermanence, teaching on impermanence is for meditation, on suffering is on meditation. How to find a good spiritual teacher can be done through analytical meditation. All the subjects are, that's taught are for meditation, right? So meditation should not be confined as something, in a limited area. Mindfulness, wherever you go, be mindful. Whatever you say, be mindful. To whatever object you look, be mindful. So be alert, awake, and mindful. If you're not alert, mindful, awake, you become vulnerable to all kinds of diseases, including the pandemic virus. So during the pandemic, we are repeatedly told that, oh, be alert, maintain the social distance, mask up, you repeatedly has to be told. You are really actually bombarded with these advertisements, mask up, maintain social distance, So similarly, in our spiritual practice also, we need to remind ourselves many times in a day. That's why in Buddhism, we have 6-session yoga practice, 6 times at least, right? So if we really want to, transform ourselves from the negative to the positive, then we need to make some effort. Unless we make some effort, it is difficult to change this die-hard habit. Die-hard habit, I call it the die-hard habit. This habit is like a chain, very difficult to break. I said very difficult. I did not say impossible to break. Okay, so still there is hope. And the interesting thing is, if you make a start in getting habituated with many of these positive things, it becomes easier. The more you get familiar, it becomes easier. And these days, I've adopted one technique, you see. One is that, for example, if I'm to read a thick book, looks very interesting, but, I have no time to read this all thick book, So I keep on thinking about this thick book, 500 pages, 600 pages. Then instead of focusing on these 600, 700 pages, let us read the first chapter or the first paragraph at least, and read that properly. It's so amazing to see that you have no idea how soon you are able to finish this book. Because the first page is interesting, second page is interesting, it hardly takes much time to finish everything. So piece by piece, small steps, right? So therefore we should be kind to ourselves. We talk about being kind and compassionate to others, but before you do that, you should be kind to yourself. That means this very body that you have found, this very mind that you have obtained today, has a great capacity to do miracles. This time is said to be the period of miracles performed by the Buddha. But if we are able to reduce our negative emotions a little bit, that is a miracle. It's the real miracle. This is a real miracle because this will then give you a new perspective, new ways of life, new ways of thinking, through which in all situations you will be relatively happy and peaceful. And you will become source of peace and happiness for many people who come into contact with you. That we all can do. We all can do, provided if we make little effort. So to make that little effort, we need to start quickly. There's not much time. We think there's a lot of time. There's not much time, right? There's not much time, especially if you are, not anymore young. Even when you are young, there's no guarantee about life. But especially for those of us who are grown up, we have not much time. So that means today is the time. Now is the time to be nice to other people, to be kind to yourself, to see the positive sides, not to keep on highlighting the negative side. So that is meditation or mindfulness. As I said right in the beginning, the need for meditation is you are controlled by your mind. Your mind is controlled by negative emotions. Therefore, we are getting suffering. We are getting problem. Therefore, now it is time for us to make an attempt to transform this mind into a positive one. The mind which is controlling you becomes a positive mind. Then it is guaranteed there will be peace and happiness. If you're going to die today, no problem. No problem. This is like going back to your country. No problem. What you're going to lose is this body. There's no death to the mind. Right? So this is something that needs to be understood. It's not something where you should have fear. So many of these fears, anxieties, worries, they come because of lack of understanding. And all along, I have been saying many times that if you look carefully with the teaching of the Buddha, Buddha has told us repeatedly, do those things which is beneficial and useful. Don't do those things which is not useful, not beneficial. So similarly with fear and worry, if it is useful, yes, do it. But most of the time it is not useful. As somebody said, worry is today's mouse eating tomorrow's cheese. Really, what will happen tomorrow? Tomorrow, nobody knows. So why you're worrying about that? Today is the cash, use it. Tomorrow may be post-dated check. Especially if you look at life, the so-called life. Life is a combination of years, months, days, and hours. If you waste 1 hour, feel sorry, feel miserable, fight with others. If you spend 1 hour negatively, it means part of your life is wasted. So therefore, when we talk about maintaining mindfulness, most of the time, mindfulness practice is done on the present moment, present situation. What is the present state of my mind? What is the present state of my body? Especially to lay people. If you read this Nagarjuna's letter to the friend, where he gives this instruction to his friend who was a king, he basically talks about the mindfulness of the body primarily. Mindfulness of the body primarily means what you physically do, what you verbally say. It is primarily through these two things that we directly contact, mental relationship with other people. So mindfulness of your speech, what are you saying? Are you hurting somebody unnecessarily? So there, unless you maintain very strong mindfulness, the tongue will slip very easily because you have strong negative emotions. And you always confront people who are a little bit, some people are a little bit, uh, kind of bullying nature, you see. So you meet people who are a little bit bossy, or troublesome. Then immediately you get excited and you say nasty things, And once you have said something nasty, then you can't pull the word back. So therefore, it is important to maintain mindfulness all the time. It's not easy, not at all easy. Then mindfulness of your body, what your hand is doing, what your leg is doing, where are you moving, which direction you are moving, whether you are maintaining restraint on your senses or not. Especially in today's world, we are having many of these problems because our senses are running wild. I want everything beautiful to see. I want everything fragrant to smell. I want everything soft to touch. Everything. See, there's hardly anything that you don't want. A clear indication is that the big malls and shops are flooding with all kind of things. This is because of law of demand, because of people are asking for those things. And through that way, nature is destroyed. Right? So therefore, unless one of them, the most important factor for enabling you achieve success in meditation is restraining the senses. Restraining the senses, one important condition. Then the second condition is engage consciously. Whatever you're doing, do it knowingly, full awareness, full alertness. Don't move around like a zombie. Many times we really move like a zombie. Of course, if I say this, you might get offended. But many times we do what other people are doing. We run in the direction where majority of the people are running. So that is why one of the Mahayana Sutra, it says Mahayana teaching is very difficult to practice. Because Mahayana teaching says, don't go to this direction. This is the wrong direction. But you will say, no, I have to go to this direction because majority of the people are going there. Especially in the name of democracy and things like that. But the fact is, when it comes to following the truth, it's not a question of majority, right? It's a question of who is right. So therefore, majority of people, unfortunately, are short-sighted, confused, ignorant. So they easily move into the wrong direction, especially if you're led by a demagogue, who these days happens all the time. The so-called, the country's leader says, we need to destroy this because they are against our country, this, that, and then everybody says, oh, my country, my country. They're ready to kill each other without properly thinking how much other people are suffering, right? That is because of ignorance, confusion, right? Mind is very powerful. Mind is very powerful. At the end of the day, unless you have a clear thinking, you will not be able to solve any problem. So therefore, after studying Buddhism, we need to learn to become independent. Independent means independence from the rule of the negative emotions. We talk about getting independence from this country, this rule, that rule, but nobody talks about getting independence from negative emotions. It's probably only in Buddhism which talks about becoming independent from negative emotions. Achieving nirvana, liberation means liberation not from a particular ruler, but liberation from negative emotions, from ignorance. Right? And the way to get that liberation from negative emotions is the three processes of practice, as I said: morality, concentration, and wisdom. Now look at the word concentration, Concentration is not concentrating just on one object. Of course, this is taught that you should concentrate on one object. But the primary idea is you need to concentrate because of the difficulties, the overwhelming difficulties that is surrounding you. You need to concentrate. You need to concentrate because of the many things that you need to do to help other sentient beings. You need to concentrate because you want to achieve that great goal of nirvana and enlightenment. How are you going to attain all these things without concentration? How are you going to achieve all this with half-hearted attempt? Right? So therefore, you can easily see how important concentration is. And the more you're able to understand the depth of the reality, the more there will be concentration. Concentration will automatically come. If we force our mind, says, okay, concentrate. Yes, you can stay there for few minutes, few hours at maximum, sitting in a kneeled position and then in a straight back and things like that. It looks good. I mean, that is kind of temporary concentration, which you are doing because your teacher has told you to do, which you are doing because your other, classmates and Dharma practitioners are also doing. But the real concentration has to come automatically by seeing the impermanent nature, that the imminence of death. For example, if somebody says that your house will be raided tomorrow, or you will be haunted by the enemies tomorrow, the enemies are coming tomorrow. Then after that, no one else has to tell you to concentrate. Because of this imminent threat, possible threat coming from your enemies, you will immediately concentrate. Your sleep, your drowsiness, your laziness will also just go away. That happens when suddenly there is an earthquake, Ordinarily you say, I'm very tired, I want to sleep, But suddenly if there's an earthquake, your sleepiness, drowsiness immediately vanishes, and you will become very alert and concentrated. So similarly, if you really think and meditate about imminence of death, imminence of separation from dear and near ones, can come anytime. Come anytime. It's coming in Ukraine right now. During the last 20 days, every night bombardment, killing, siren all the time. How can people sleep? You see? So there you don't have to tell them to concentrate. Right? And such a situation can come anywhere, anytime, anywhere, in many forms. Sometimes in the form of pandemic, sometimes in the form of conflict and war, sometimes, in the form of disharmony among friends, disharmony among relatives, among the families, among the society. And there's sometimes also the lack of harmony among your own physical constituents. It can come anytime. So therefore, while we have the time, while we have the capacity to do something good, seize that moment, appreciate that moment, feel grateful, and do that good thing, which will really boost your immunity, which will really boost your wish to do further practice. Because now you're not talking, you are doing it. So we need to do. Most of the time we do the talking, not the practical part. There's so many online teachings, they're all talking. I'm also talking right now. So all these talkings, I would not say they're useless, right? In one of the sutra, the Buddha says it's very interesting to talk about the sweetness of the jaggery, the sugar cane, things like that. But then the text says, but the real sweetness is there inside that sugar cane, which if you don't taste it, you will not taste it just by touching the peel and things like that. No, so we are like talking about the peel, the cover, but not tasting the sweetness. The taste of the sweetness will be there when you actually taste it. So likewise, you will taste the flavor of Dharma when you practice a little bit, even if not much, a little bit. Do a little bit, show a little bit of kindness here and there. Practice a little bit of patience here and there. So with that, gradually you will achieve much, encouragement and success in that practice to move forward. So we should all endeavor to do the practice. Do the practice. Practice of Buddhism is not a show business. It is not something that we should advertise and market. It is something that we need to do in our own life, whether other people are appreciating it or not, noticing it or not, doesn't matter. You need to do it. Just like you're taking your regular food. You will never say that nobody is watching me now, so I will skip my dinner, I will skip my lunch. Whether other people are watching or not, you will make sure that you have a nice lunch, you will have a nice dinner. So similarly with the spiritual practice also, it's not question of whether anybody is noticing it or not. If you're concerned about whether anybody is watching it or not, noticing it or not, that means you are doing the worldly Dharma practice, not a spiritual practice. Not spiritual practice. Right? Okay. So I stop here. Some questions?
Thank you so much, Geshe La.
Yeah.
So whoever has a question, please, you can look in your Zoom menu. There is a little yellow hand. You can click on that, and then we see your hand coming up, and we can find you. Banuji, please unmute.
Hello, Geshe La. You mentioned that meditation or concentration should not be limited to when you're sitting down and meditating, but it should become automatic and part of your every part of your life. What is a good way of ensuring that is? What is a good way of making sure that happens?
Enjoy whatever you're doing, especially the good things, enjoy. So to be able to concentrate, you have to be present there, right? For example, if you are manually making something, then physically you are there, manually you are doing something, but your mind may be wandering somewhere else. You are not present. So that we should try, not to happen like that. Mentally you should be present there. When you're at a restaurant and enjoying your lunch, then your mind should be there. Enjoy the taste of every mouthful of food. You should be present there. You should be really relishing the taste, enjoying. I normally give the example of small kids, small kids, if you watch them playing, they are really present there. They laugh, they smile, they jump, they're really there. But as we grow up, and then with the superficial experience, superficial knowledge, we're always thinking about something happened in the past or something that you're expecting in the future, not living in the moment, right? You may be, having your lunch, but you are worried about the next appointment, things like that. So therefore, the little experience that I have is that whatever work you do, don't make too many commitments. There's another hurdle in today's modern world. Because you make too many commitments, then you are not able to concentrate on any one thing properly. Oh, after this I have to do this. Oh, after this I have to do this. Oh, after this I have to do this, So you're not able to do anything properly, right? Especially when you're encouraged to do this in the modern world in the name of multitasking, So the fact of the matter is, if you concentrate and do one thing properly, you will really excel in that, right? Otherwise, you will become jack of all trade, master of none, as we say, right? So based on my own limited experience also, for example, a small experience with this online teachings, and talks. I get many requests for this online teachings and talks. So sometimes I make a mistake, there's somebody is requesting, so I should accept it. Then I make a fool of myself, There's really not much room for me for breathing, for planning, because I can't give a talk teaching like that. I need to prepare. I need to think a little bit. I need to read some text, things like that. So when I make too many promises, then I'm not able to do this one properly, that one also properly. And in fact, just the day before yesterday, I made a problem of, lumping two programs almost together. It was an invitation to come to Shimla, which is 8-9 hours from here, to give a talk. Then I accepted to do that, not realizing that the day before I have a full day meeting, So which means you have no time left for traveling by road to reach that place, So I had to change it, that meant inconvenience to the organizer, things like that. So normally I try my best that there is at least few days gap between the two teachings. So this is just an example, right? So there are some important things that you need to do for your livelihood and things like that. You may not have much choice, but for many other things, you should make proper choice and have some freedom. Okay.
Thank you, Geshe.
Yeah, thank you. You're from where, Karbanda?
I'm from Delhi.
From Delhi? Oh, your name is very interesting, Karbanda. Banu, I know, Karbanda. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Geshe Banuji helped us out big time at Tushita during the last 2 years when, we were short of especially tech-savvy people. So Banuji often lets us.
Oh, wonderful.
Subhashini, please unmute.
Good afternoon, Geshe, and thank you very much for a very practical and very pertinent talk, teaching, sorry. And, I have been trying my best to meditate, but my mind just wanders. It just refuses to follow the normal rules of meditation. It's something that's bothering me like anything, because from years now I'm trying, and I'm not succeeding.
What happened?
Sorry?
So you've already asked the question?
Yes, I asked a question.
Okay.
How do I make my mind?
So in the initial stage, this is a good question that I wanted to tell everybody else also, is that in the beginning when you meditate, don't meditate for a long time. Don't push yourself. In the beginning, the meditation session should be shorter, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, as long as you feel comfortable.
I'm not even able to do that.
Then 5 minutes. Even that, yes, you are right. Even that is not easy because your mind is so flying, you know, it's so fleeting that it can escape anytime. But to notice that it is getting distracted, it's also a good step forward. Because before you have meditated, you have no idea, you know, where the mind is going, whether the mind is distracted or not distracted, you know, you have no idea. Now at least you know it is getting distracted. So when you know that it's getting distracted, you need to tell the mind, okay, now you're getting distracted. I'm not thinking about this object, I'm thinking about this object. You need to recall the mind back. So do this few times. Okay. Then gradually the mind will become more stable. And sometimes if you know, so therefore there is a you know, process of practice where sometimes you have to make effort. Sometimes you have to relax your effort. Okay, sometimes if you make too much effort, then the mind again has the tendency, just like a naughty child, you know. If you're very strict, the child will become, child will revolt, you know. If you're too lenient, also the child will get spoiled. So you need to approach this kind of middle way. Okay. And then therefore in such a case, the one very useful meditation is watching your breath, meditation on breath. Because breath is something that is present in your body, in your life, without which you can't live. You know, exhalation and inhalation is a normal process. So just watch that. And that will really help removing many of the discursive thoughts.
I do watch my breath, but then my mind is going somewhere else.
That's what the sixth Dalai Lama said. You know, it's not a problem with you, even the sixth Dalai Lama. Have you heard this poem? The sixth Dalai Lama said, the face of my teacher on which I meditate, I can never meditate. The face of my girlfriend, which I don't meditate, always comes in my mind. So you try to meditate on the face of your boyfriend or girlfriend. So that, I mean, joking aside, that really means you should meditate on something that you like. Okay, something you feel comfortable. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to unmute. Geshe, we have a question from Brazil. So we have a Brazilian translator with us here. Thank you so much. And the person says he or she, I'm not quite sure, is apologizing because his microphone is not so good. So he is thanking Geshe very much and is asking, from the perspective of the teachings you have given us today, how can we understand the importance of realizing emptiness?
As I said already, the importance of understanding reality, right? So emptiness is nothing but the final aspect of reality, right? So emptiness, as we always say, is not just nothingness, but empty of independent existence. So that means if you scrutinize the nature of all phenomena, you will find that they are all designated, interdependent. There is not a single phenomena whatsoever that has independent existence. So that is knowing the reality. Now the benefit of knowing such a reality is that you will then be able to see that we are all interdependent, interconnected. You know, you are interconnected to other people, you are interconnected to environment, to the nature, and obviously to those on which you're dependent. You need to be nice. Just like, for example, you are dependent on your body, so therefore you need to take care of your body. You have to give the body food, lunch, dinner, huh? Wash your body, things like that, because you are dependent on it. Okay.
Next one is Jackie. Jackie, could you please unmute?
So, thank you very much. I'm sorry, my reception isn't very good. I was wondering, you mentioned the mind is energy.
Mm.
Does that mean that the Buddha's mind was also energy? Like, what's the difference between the Buddha's mind and our mind? Was his mind also energy, but he perfected it, or?
Exactly. Yeah, pure energy, purified energy. Our mind
like,
is unpurified, afflicted energy.
But is that energy everywhere? Like in terms of, is his mind, you know, when you say that there's a million Buddhas everywhere, meaning like his mind is everywhere.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Mind is everywhere. Like, for example, if I say the space is everywhere, it is not a problem, right? It doesn't obstruct, it doesn't obstruct anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
The space in the eastern direction doesn't obstruct the space in the western direction, and so forth. So similarly, this pure energies, the minds of the Buddha, you know, however many they are, they do not obstruct each other. But the great qualities of this omniscient mind is they have the capacity to know everything. Okay.
Meaning that they're everywhere, right? They've got to be everywhere to know everything. Is that true? Or
they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to go anywhere. Like, for example, if you install a very powerful, you know, telescope here, then you can see many things, even in America, even in Russia. The telescope itself does not have to go to America, go to Russia. Okay. So like that. Anything that comes within its purview will be reflected if it is free from any obstruction.
But sorry to go on, but in the 7 limit says that you see a million Buddhas on every atom. Are there literally many millions of Buddhas, or is just the Buddha's mind everywhere? So there's millions of them.
Once you achieve that state of enlightenment, omniscience, you have the capacity to be everywhere.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you are physically there. It doesn't mean that Buddhas are in your nostril.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. If they're literally in all your atoms, I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
I better wash my hair more often.
Yeah. And then you know, you eat them with your spoonful of rice, you know.
Yeah.
Not in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, SK.
Yeah. Namaste, Geshe.
Namaste.
Some months back, I did a session on Maranasati. And, I just wanted you to let us know what are the benefits of a death or corpse contemplation really for, realizing emptiness. I mean, is that a very important, because, it was a difficult session when I attended Maranasati. But so if you could just kind of, advise.
Meditation on what? Corpse, dead body.
Death contemplation, Maranasati, yeah. So it's basically awareness of disintegration of the corpse and the decay. So how critical is that really from the point of view of really?
This is very critical and more important than meditation on emptiness to start with, at least. Okay, because emptiness is very good to talk about. It's really the final and ultimate truth. But that may or may not move you much and not so easy to understand. But when you talk about the imminence of death, not only about other people, but your own life, then that will completely like change your perspective, because that will then bring you to the point. Okay, if this is the case, then what should I do? What should I be doing? What is best for me? Right? For example, if it is decided that you are moving to America tomorrow morning, okay, then what should you focus? Should you focus on buying more, lands and buildings and things like that, or should you focus more on, checking the, confirmation of your flight ticket? Which one is urgent? You see? So like that. So therefore, because honestly speaking, much of the problem that we experience today is because hardly anybody thinks about the imminence of death. And because of that, people even go to the extent of killing each other. Right now, the bombardment that is happening there in Ukraine, you can see that, you see. You can see that. It's awful, And the Buddhist teaching, as I repeatedly said, the Buddhist teachings say, you don't have to kill people, they'll die. I mean, look at that. So that makes complete sense, because they are going to die. And therefore, while we are alive, we should be nice. That's the conclusion. And for that, elsewhere, I have given the example, there's a Buddhist teaching which says that our thinking should be like thinking of people who are in a boat traveling in a turbulent sea. You see? When you're traveling in a turbulent sea and boat is about to get capsized, then all your thinking will be like similar. You see? You will not talk much about which country you came from, what is your familial connection, you're the man or women, or rich or poor, a philosopher or a scientist. These questions are irrelevant. The thing is, how can we together survive in this rocky boat, in this turbulent sea, and how we should console and encourage each other to live together. And luckily, if you survive, then those people in that turbulent, who travel together in that turbulent boat, in that turbulent sea, they will become the best friend in life. Because you have really experienced the sameness of all of us. On other grounds, when you don't experience such difficulty, such obvious problem difficulty, then we think, okay, I can manage it. He can manage, he's different, I'm different, You focus on the differences. You don't go to the basic reality, Today, unfortunately, there are not many people who talk about the basic sameness of human beings. We're talking more about the more superficial, dividing lines, which religion you came from, which country you came from, the secondary issues, you see. So that's the problem, right? So therefore, many teachers, they've asked this question. If you, for example, if it is clear, it is definite that you are going to die tomorrow, what will be the one thing that you will do today? Questions like that become very pertinent. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So the purpose is basically not to unnecessarily frighten yourself, but to make your life meaningful, each and every minute of your life meaningful. Choose kindness.
Hello. So thank you so much. And my question is, I understand the value of, that when I hear people talk about purifying the mind and not focusing on, negative emotions. But my question is there value in these quote unquote negative emotions? It feels often like, what we resist tends to persist. So not focusing on them, maybe bring them in more. So I'm just wondering if there's some type of value of them.
Yeah. This is a good question, because the scientists, they say that all emotions are just emotions. There's nothing negative or positive. Mm-hmm. All emotions are necessary for human survival. That is at least what they say. I spoke to some scientists also. They say, yes, this is true. This is true. But then if you sit with them a little bit longer and ask them other questions like, how about anger? Especially how about, killing and fighting each other? I don't think they will say this is also important in human life. I don't think they will say things like that. So again, even from scientific point of view, a limited kind of emotion, positive or negative, whatever you want to call it, may be necessary for survival. But if you let them run wild without any check, it becomes source of problem for all of us. That is very clear to all of us. Right now, for example, take the case of anger. Why people think anger is necessary. For example, you may have been bullied by somebody for a long, long time, okay? And you become the victim. You could not say anything, you could not do anything to that bullying, right? But then one day you just flared out, you got very angry, and that anger gave you some extra courage, right? By which you're able to respond, by which you are able to say something, by which you are able to challenge that person. And because of that, you might start thinking, oh, anger is useful. This is how people think. Yes, true. Anger gives you some extra energy by which you're able to say something, do something which you normally could not do. But that extra energy that you got is essentially blind energy. It is unsure whether it will hit the target or not. So you can through training, you can develop much more powerful energy than the energy from negative emotions, by which you can challenge the wrongdoings of other people. Like, for example, if you compassionately, with coolness of your mind, you challenge the wrongdoings of other people, you will only say those things which is legally right, which is reasonable. But when you're angry, anything will come from your mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this way, I think we can see and check whether this negative emotions are absolutely necessary or not, whether there are better options or not. Okay.
What I'm hearing you say is it's not so much that they're bad, but maybe sitting with them longer for them to transform the energy, to use it in a more directed way.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sandeep.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thank you for coming and helping everyone, helping me. I just want to know, like, on a normal day, how your day starts as a monk, and how it and just to take something like how I should implement it in my life. I started following Buddhism a couple of months back, and I am really interested, but I don't want to be a full-time monk, not right now. I want to achieve something more to help people eh, study science and do a couple of things. But at the same time, I want to implement a bit of your life in my daily life. I start my day um, with taking a refugee under Buddha. Um, Now I can see my mind when it's going away. I can pull it back. Yes, here it's green. I'm walking. There are beautiful flowers around me, so I can pull it back. But I am looking for, like, if I can implement 10-15% of your day, how you spend from day to night, if I can implement the same thing in my life too. That way I'm asking.
No, number one, I can't pretend that my life is an example for you, because everybody has to follow their own way of life. Of course, you can take some, clues from other people's way of life, not necessarily just me, but from anybody. So I think your stand is right, because your stand is a realistic stand. As I already mentioned, that to practice Buddhism is not a fashion, especially to become a monk and nun is not a fashion. If you follow it like a fashion, then for a few days you will like to become a monk or nun. Then next day you see a handsome man or beautiful woman, you will get disrobed. So these are all like possibilities, you see. So therefore, as somebody clearly said, that if you practice properly, then even if you remain as a householder, there is a liberation, there is Nirvana, just like the Marble Lotsawa and many great Indian and Tibetan kings and ministers. And if you don't practice properly, even if you stay high in the mountain and hibernate yourself like the marmots, the marmots, the animal, who hibernate and sleep 6 months underground, but they don't achieve any liberation or anything. So we'll also be like that. So it depends how you lead your life, right? So therefore, it is good that to lead a realistic life. So in my case, I tell you what I do. I don't, I get up, then after that, I'm already near a computer or near a book. That's how my day starts. And then, I need to prepare many of the requests for talks and teachings. Then for my own, fulfill my own interest also, I'm surrounded by books, Buddhist scriptures, and then, Western philosophical books or books on science and logic and health, things like that. So I try to read those books which contributes to health and happiness, okay, be it from any source. Because at one point I was even thinking about that I should really study, anthropology, because the one that is least understood is the man himself. With science and technology, we have scaled the mountains and then the planets and things like that. We have beautiful maps of everything, but the human brain itself is still not much explored. Especially when we talk about the mind, then we have no idea, no clue so far, other than the little bit of knowledge that we have on the brain, right? So what I'm trying to tell you in response to your question is, I basically lead a normal life. I read books and translate number of books so that many people will get benefit, because I have this advantage of knowing a little bit of English and Tibetan and Buddhist philosophy and things like that. So I'm doing some translation whenever I have time. And so that way I hope to have at least 2-3 books translated so other people can get some benefit. That's one thing that I do. Then I focus much on my given task in the library. How should I make the activities in the library run properly so that other people can get benefit. So my life, there's nothing special. And I go to bed very early, and I don't get up very early also. I mean, not very late, but around 6 I get up in the morning. And then after that, nothing special. And my key focus is how much I can, make small contribution to make others happy. Happy means not having pleasure just for a few minutes, but to help them change their way of thinking a little bit so they can find the right direction. So that's my attempt in all my talks and teachings and also personal discussions. And I was able to help some people. That much I can say. So that will be my endeavor, nothing special. So you didn't get anything from me. I'm sorry. Sandeep.
No, you have no idea how much you gave me. Thank you. Sometimes you don't
Yeah,
say
so
words, but
basically what I do is, read all these wisdoms from every sources and then draw the conclusion based related to my life's experience and what these great thinkers are saying, Then I try to, in all those wisdoms which I found my confirmation, then I try to collect those wisdoms and share it with other people, right? And one of my main, I don't know whether I should say main effort, but one of the things that I have been now thinking these days is, even if I'm able to leave some small thing to benefit the future younger generation. So the question that I put to myself is, what is it that I'm going to leave when I die? That is for me a very pertinent, important question, and I believe that it should be an important question to you also. Okay, so when I talk about living something, it's not necessarily in terms of property and wealth and big houses and things like that, which I have none. I don't have even a place which I can call this is my place. Okay. So right from childhood, I've been in schools and then in monasteries, now also in the institution. So I get a place to stay. But once I leave these places, I don't have even a small place called this is my place, you see. So I have nothing to live in that case. So what I was thinking was really like at least collect these wisdoms from Buddhist sources and Western sources and hopefully compile something. Or at least I've started sharing it in my talks and teachings. And many people are saying it's very, very beneficial. This is not because of my greatness, because I've taken those wisdoms from these great people, So sometimes just one sentence, just one verse could change the life of other people. So this is a small thing that I've been trying to do. Yeah.
If it is not too much to ask, I got this mantra from internet. I was searching, and I just want to say it. I'm sorry, my language is not up to the mark, but I'm just going to say it. Correct me if it is wrong or right, if you know it better. Te om bekanje mahabekanje raja samadgate soha. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, this is the mantra of the medicinal Buddha. So Vekhaze, Tibetans say Vekhaze, but in Sanskrit it's something like Vaishya Raj, which means the medicinal Buddha, medicinal king. So that I think if you consult some Indians, they will be able to say it much better because this is basically a Sanskrit mantra. Okay. Om Beshaze, Maha Beshaze, Raja Samungate Swaha. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Geshe, I have to unmute. Geshe, there are no more questions right at this moment. So maybe we could conclude the session today, and we see Geshe tomorrow again. And thank you so much, Geshe, always for your great and practical, straight to the heart wisdom. Thank you so much, Geshe.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
See you tomorrow, Geshe. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today's session. And tomorrow we have another session coming with Geshe again, 4 o'clock Indian time. So then please also prepare some questions. You can see Geshe is very much down to earth, nothing airy-fairy. And has, of course, great wisdom from all those many, many, many years of experience. And is also a very busy monk. So he has, lots of responsibilities. So that is applicable to many of us, who are living busy lives. And so we see you tomorrow again, 4 o'clock. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening in India. Good morning if you're in America. It's lunchtime here in Europe. So wherever you are, please enjoy. Thank you. Oh, thank you to the translator. I'm so sorry. I didn't forget. I wasn't mindful. Thank you so much. Jean, thank you so much for translating into Portuguese. Thank you, Vanamundandro, for arranging. Thank you, Pamela, for everything, running the session, everything else. Thank you so much for everybody who contributed. Bye-bye.